that I was taking a straight shot to Washington, D.C., I think, from this station in Indianapolis, which, as a Patriots fan, my whole life, I'm sitting across the street at a White Castle looking at Lucas Oil Stadium, which is the home of the Colts, and I'm this is not my territory. um, that's not great. But I was just, hanging out, eating some sliders. This like homeless guys going down the street yelling at me to get off of his turf. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking it's a White Castle Bob Ross shirt, which has a stain on the collar. I have no idea what it is, but, I still wear the shirt because it's so hard in the paint. You know? And earlier this year, I tried to move away from my home in New England and go to either Denver or basically California if I got as far as Denver, but I didn't even get as far as Denver. The reason why is because I basically drove 1,000 miles in one day in a car that had only been inspected for the first time in 2 years, 2 or 3 days beforehand. I packed up my whole life in my car, which was a similar car to this, but it was an older model. And yeah, so I got all the way down to Indianapolis, and I broke down in Beech Grove, which is like a southern, kind of just off of I-70 sort of area. And yeah, no, it was not pleasant. I was stuck there for about 2 or 3 days maybe. I broke down in a marathon parking lot, and I was parked out by the dumpsters for the first night. Got some mobile mechanics to come and help me, and like the first guy basically put 4 quarts of transmission fluid in my car after draining black transmission fluid, which was burned and should be red, or not black. It should not be black, but it was. And so that was the initial diagnosis I got, was that my transmission was not gonna be okay after that drive. I had like 200,000 miles on the car. I kind of assumed something bad would happen, and that's what happened. So I'm stuck in this lot. The second mobile mechanic that I called, because the first guy just stops responding to me. Long story, but everybody just stops responding to me in this. Thank God I got out of there okay. I'm basically just sitting there in this lot, waiting for the second guy to show up, and the police arrest some guy that's riding on a bicycle with his daughter in the backseat, who's like probably like 5 years old, with no helmet. And they had 3 squad cars for that, so that was just like when I'm sitting there watching. It's like 90 degrees because it's the middle of May, and I'm just like, damn, like that sucks to be that guy, if you're gonna ride around with your kids, make sure they have helmets on, or else the police will take them and you. So the second mobile mechanic, he's like this family guy, like shows me his tax return to show me that he's legit, and then he stops responding to me, after he leaves one night. I give him $20. Oh God. But he basically informs me that we troubleshoot that I can use first and second gear, and reverse. So I'm able to jump around parking lots here and there, so the police don't get me for loitering in one, and I'm able to just kind of figure out my situation and decide what I want to do. Basically, I had $1,500 in my pocket maybe, that I was going off of for gas and food and stuff, so I immediately signed up for AAA with whatever money I had on my card, which is not a lot of money. Like, if you're going out on a multi-day, like, moving your whole life around trip, definitely have money in the bank to use the card for emergencies like this. Because I was able to get AAA on my card. They took me to a FedEx. The FedEx people were very nice, because I was loading up 700 pounds worth of stuff, which I basically sent back home for $700. From there, I was able to putter my car across the street in first gear on this major street in like the south side of Indianapolis, to some gas station. I don't remember the name right now, but like Gulp and Go or some shit. It was right next to a Steak and Shake. I go into the Steak and Shake, and the manager had meth mouth. He has meth mouth. Mouth of the meth. He uses meth. I could tell by looking at his mouth. He says it's okay for me to hang out in the parking lot, but, you know, for the night. But just be careful because there's a lot of foot traffic and, like, the people that come through are kind of seedy. So I'm sitting there, like, looking at this stuff, and all of a sudden, cops, once again, surround this homeless guy that's just sitting on these picnic benches right next to the Steak and Shake that you can eat on during the day when they're open. But he's sitting there at night, so I'm sitting there. By the way, I have, like, a little bit of weed that I'm smoking at the time, and what happens is I'm smoking it, and I look back, and I see the cop cars, and I go, oh shit, I'm in Indiana. This is the worst place that you could possibly be with marijuana right now in this day and age. I was talking to the people inside of the gas station. They said, like, this is definitely going to be the last place to legalize marijuana for recreational use. Like, that's just the way it goes. So anyways, I'm sitting in this parking lot, just looking for places that'll scrap my car. Because right now I got my stuff going home. I got my bags. I got to figure out how to get all that stuff home with me because I didn't want to send it in the mail, you know, or just like risk losing it because it's parts of my life that I just did not want to lose. So I wait overnight, and I'm like, it's like 7 a.m. I'm like in touch with family members. They're like, you know, giving me random support and just fielding questions that I have about like whatever I'm like thinking about doing, whether it's like plane travel or like I figured out that I could get a train ticket for like $300. So what I did was I scrapped my car. Luckily, like the third or fourth guy that I called, like picked up the phone, and like their secretary or whoever had a guy out there in like 30 minutes. I sold that car for $300, which just covered the trip, and it was just like the trip home for me. So like basically I have the tow truck driver do me a favor and drop me off with all my stuff at the Amtrak station, which doubled as a Greyhound bus, and I didn't know whether I was taking a bus to another train station or not, but I figured out that I was taking a straight shot to Washington from this station in Indianapolis, which as a Patriots fan, my whole life I'm sitting across the street at a White Castle looking at Lucas Oil Stadium, which is the home of the Colts, and I'm just going, this is not my territory. You know, that's not great. But I was just, you know, hanging out, eating some sliders. It's like homeless guys going down the street yelling at me to get off of his turf. I go back inside, I watched like that HBO movie that Angelina Jolie and the guy that plays the Punisher, Jonathan Bernthal or something, are in. And what's his Carcetti from The Wire is in that as well. Littlefinger for all you Game of Thrones fans. Just watching this movie, and this person that was undoubtedly on drugs or seeking drugs sits on this bench that they have placed against the exit, because it was a non-exit zone at the time because people could sneak out there to smoke or something, and they didn't want people smoking because of COVID. So, and the whole time, you know, masked up, this woman who is just a drug addict is sitting on this bench that's like blocking an exit. So I can't even like get away from her quickly if I wanted to, and she just starts asking me if I'm hungry every 2 or 3 minutes, like just, oh, are you hungry? And I'm like, no. Are you hungry? No. Are you hungry? No. Are you hungry? No. Are you hungry? So I go to that White Castle for the time. Come back and the police are talking to her, and I'm just like, I just feel bad because that's a terrible place to be in your life. We're at the bus station or the train station, talking to anybody about anything for any reason. I feel that's a low point. It's where I was. That was a low point for me too. So I get on the train, I wear a mask for 2 days straight, get into DC, take the train from DC to Boston, which was supposed to be like a 6 to 8 hour kind of deal. Like I got on the train at midnight or so in DC, and I was supposed to be in Boston by like 10 a.m. at the latest. So I wake up on the train, and we're in the middle of Connecticut, and wouldn't you know it, my train, the number 66 mind you, hit somebody in Connecticut. So I'm just sitting on the train, just stuck. And the only reason I know about anything that's going on is because there's this nosy lady in the front seat. Um, like, because I was kind of in the middle, so she's in the front of the train, who's just like talking so loudly that I can hear her. And she's like trying to help everybody with their problems. Like, there was this dude at the train station because I was standing next to her when we were getting on the train. Uh, she's talking to this dude about how he needs to like get his kids back, and it's this whole thing. It's all this TMI stuff, and she's just talking about it loudly, and it's just like you're just uncomfortable. The train starts moving again, and I'm just in like disbelief that somebody had died for my trip home. Basically, it was kind of a weird like thing because that could have been me if I didn't play my cards right out there. I could have just been like robbed in my stationary car for 3 days straight. I was there for about, call it 60 hours. Like, that's a good day and a half in those parking lots in Indianapolis. Uh, thank God I got home. And I did get home, and I dragged all my stuff home, and I didn't realize how far, like a mile and a half from the train station to my house would be until, I had to drag a trash bag, which ground away. Like there was stuff falling out of it by the time I got to my house, but I made it home. And that's how I got home. And it's, just a very weird experience that I hope to not replicate in that fashion anytime soon. I definitely want to go on another trip and try to make that drive and really make it work, but it's not going to happen if what's going to happen is what happened last time, But that's not going to get me down. Press on regardless.